Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. So I'm Daniel Reis, and our talk today is about, well, the title is Beyond Odoo Development Essentials. So I'm just probably making a bit of shameless publicity to my books, so thank you for being here. No, really, I think the thought is, when I contact with other developers, I sometimes see tools I don't know about, and I find them interesting. There's a few tools I use. I see other people don't know about them, so I share them. So I'm not stating these are the best or the worst, but it's what I use. Maybe there's something in for you. Maybe I can even learn from you, from your feedback. So the goal for today is talk a bit about sharing a bit of the history behind the books, what's next. So let's go to the agenda. So talk a bit about the history of the books, what motivated me to write them, maybe talk a bit of what may be next, other ideas I have, share with you some tools or my tool set, I work every day, and things I can't live without, and of course have space for Ask Me Anything. So it's not a very structured session, I think, and yeah, so I'm hoping this can be interactive and we can have questions and discuss things here. So does this sound good? Okay, so let's start. So a bit of history. So who remembers the technical memento? Who's familiar with this? If you search, yeah, there's one hand in the air. So when I started with Odoo around version 6, and the only thing available, documentation, was terrible, constantly outdated, and the best thing we had was this technical memento. It was a PDF, I think Fabian wrote it himself. It's like 12 pages long, very condensed, very hard to decipher. It's like something you had to read 20 times to understand everything that was there. And even there are pieces you couldn't reach because there was no explanation, just some code examples. It's still available if you Google for Odoo technical memento. I got this from Odoo's website. This is the last version for 7. They had versions of this they had this for earlier versions. So this is still the old API for those who remember the old API. And that's how I learned Odoo. And when I was doing this and kind of banging my head in the wall, that there should be a better way, right? So that kind of was the motivating factor. And then at some point, I was invited to review a pack publishing book called Working with OpenERP. It was a functional book. And I accepted. I was the reviewer. The compensation for that, you just get a couple of copies of the book, and that's it. And then I got the invite. They were interested into this and actually had the structure in my head. And I wrote it it took for a while, but I wrote it straight. It were a lot of nights working on it, but I work it straight. And this is what happened. So here's a few. I think there are 5. The last one is the 5th edition. So we've been doing updates. It started with Odoo 8, Odoo Development Essentials. That's 2015, so that's 8 years ago. So that's a while. Oh, that sounds better. Thank you. And the last book was Odoo 15 Development. It's difficult to keep pace with the yearly releases of Odoo. So even an update of the book, it can take at least 9 months. And because I'm kind of a perfectionist and I kind of rewrite everything when I do it. When I go back and see what I did on the last edition, oh, this sounds wrong. This can be done better. So it's how it is. So curiosity, the best-selling one is still Odoo 12 Essentials. That's the best-selling, and the Odoo 15 is approaching, which kind of expected because there's more people knowing about Odoo, interested in Odoo. And what I can disclose is I've been made this question, and we're working on the Odoo 17 essentials. We started that in May, around that. So the strategy is are updating to whatever is new, and when Odoo 17 comes out, we'll test everything again to see whatever is significantly different, and we are expecting it to be published around January. So that's Odoo 17. And it's kind of, to be honest, it's kind of been tiring, 8 years on this. So I brought in a new author, and he's co-authoring in me, and he's doing the update, I'm doing the reviews. So, and I think it's getting a bit tiring for me. It's a lot of work. But on the other hand, I think it's something that needs to be continued because it does bring value to the community. So here, any questions about the history or curiosities about this? You got no image? Okay, you came up again. Okay, good. One question. Please, Frederick.
What change in Odoo did the most trouble for you in writing the book? I mean,
it was the access rules on the wizards, on the access rules. What's the technical name now? Help me, please. What the wizards? It's the proper name for the wizards models. The transient models. The transient models, because it forced me to change the sequence. Chapter 3 is the chapter where I do one application bottom to end. It switched the sequence because I had security afterwards. And then I had to do it before because, actually, I'm sorry, I'm wrong. It was the removal of the access on the admin. When they introduced the super user and the admin, I had to switch the order of things because if you followed, it wouldn't work. You create a model, it doesn't work until you add the access rules. So that kind of added forced me to shift things around the sequence of the book. Yeah, good question, thank you. So the question was, what was the change that made a bigger impact on the book writing at some point? Good, yeah?
Hello, first of all, thank you for writing these books.
Thank you.
Second thing, if you go back to the sheet of the memento, if you read it today, is it still valid, and is there anything in the foundation, did anything change in the foundation?
I think it...
Compare 17 with this sheet.
Yeah, it's still valid, except that it's like it's written instead of modern language, it's written in Old Latin because it uses the old API. So in the old API, you need to pass context all the time and all that kind of stuff. So you couldn't have dot notation to assign values. So it's written in the old API. The concepts are still the same. But the way you write it, like if you would write it old style English versus new style English, you need to do the translation in your head. But the main concepts are there. And there are things that are new that are not there anymore. And there are things here, this still talks about the RML report engine that's deprecated. It still mentions the workflow engine that was deprecated. So it's not a good resource anymore. So, but so one of the things I'm thinking, honestly, I don't feel the energy to update the full book, but I think we need something like this updated. That would be an interesting thing to do. Yeah.
That was my last question. Can you write something for 17 that looks like?
Yeah, I have it in the back of my mind, doing something. It could be just a repo with GitHub pages, something like that, a simple thing that you could, because I used the book for reference, but it's done, I tried to write the book in a way that was good for reference too, because things are well organized where things are, but it's still a lot of pages to go through, right? And I miss having something like this. So, okay, why is this? Is this a bad contact? Hmm?
Everything is good here. Yeah, it's good.
It's good here. Oh, it's a problem there with the projection. It's a projection. Okay. Okay. So without the slide, I can also share a bit things. So the main problem at this point is lack of time. So I need to organize time for this. But what's next? What can be done after this? And my idea of what's missing now, because we kind of, to be honest, Odoo documentation is quite good at this moment, is I still like better the structure of the book, but it's pretty decent, and they have kind of a book there with all the chapters that you can follow. So it's pretty decent what's in the Odoo documentation. Still space for the book, but I think it's pretty good. What's missing now, if I think what should be there that needs a book and it doesn't exist. And I think it's the topic of Odoo development patterns. So it's not only, this just teaches you how to use the framework, but we need better guidance on how to write robust applications. And that's a wider software engineering topic. I was thinking on how to structure that and was doing some research, and I'm a bit frustrated. There's not so much quality stuff or out there on generic software engineering. But in the other world, we kind of know in the OCA there's kind of patterns to use. I think we kind of understand that smaller models, smaller are better, because you have better, less entanglement between modules and models. Like there are some patterns, like the prepare pattern. When you do a write on some model, you have a separate prepare method, so to allow inheritance. So there's a lot of these small things that a lot of them are common knowledge. But they're not written anywhere. There's nothing saying that. I think something is needed to do that. So that could be the next step. Let's see. Okay, let's go. Let's move on. Time is going by. So can't live without tools. So I made here this short list. So I use Bash a lot. I use, depending on the time, I can use. I have used Ubuntu as my main operating system. Right now it's Windows for convenience with other tools, but in the end of the day, I need I have an Ubuntu Bash console. I use regular Bash. I tried other stuff, it didn't stick with me. Fish, ZSH, it didn't stick with me. Maybe I didn't understand it. So I just use regular Bash, but one thing I notice a lot of people don't know about is that you can use Ctrl-R to search your history of commands. So I noticed a lot of people don't know this. They're just typing the same commands over and over again. Just type Ctrl-R, type 3 letters, and you have the command back from history. So that's a really important one thing I wanted to share. The other thing is, let's go to the third one, BioBoo. Anyone knows that one, BioBoo? So let me go back to my, let's get my screen here. Good. So this is my regular Bash. If we do this, I'm creating a session. It's team-ups behind the scenes, so it's a terminal duplexer. If you do this on a server, the session will live there. If you lose connection, it will stay there. And you can have several, if you're on the server, you can have several terminals. And so it's very useful because I have here, like I have a window where I run Odoo. I have a window where I run Odoo. And I have another window where I have my code, and I can have multiple windows with different files or even different projects. I can have maybe 3 windows with one project and another 3 windows with a different project. I usually have 1 window for Odoo core because we're inspecting stuff on Odoo core. And I find it interesting that you have indicators in the bottom with your CPU, if your time, your download, upload. So you have quite a lot of information here down here. And so this is one of the tools. This is BioBoom, and the other bash controller R. The other thing is git prompt. Git prompt is basically, so it's a something you would add to your bash RC, and it adds here information on the git branch you are. It tells if you have files to commit, of change files. It tells you if there are things to pull from upstream. It will show some icons there. So this is kind of, I'm so used to it, I'm confused when I don't have it, compared to just the black. No information. So this is very useful on my daily workflow. So the other thing is Silver Searcher AG. Anyone knows the tool?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a replacement for grep. Because grep is, you can do it, but it has a not so easy syntax to search things. So if I do this, and if I ag for PY files for, I don't know, payment. It searches me every Python file for payment, or I can say, no, I want to look in XML files, or XML and PY files. And I want to look this into the add-ons account. Okay, so it's it's a replacement for, it's pretty fast searching it, especially if most of the time you're looking at JS, XML, and PY, you add those filters, it's instant. You can search a large code base and it's instant. So I use this every day. I don't remember the full syntax of grep anymore because of this. So I kind of stuck with the tool. My code editor is NeoVim. I won't force this on anyone, of course. It's but when you get used to this, it's fine. When people come to me, I say, whatever is better for you. Don't feel pressured and use something like Vim or NeoVim. It's probably not even good out of the box. But when you use it for a while and you're getting used to it, you kind of miss the automated commands of navigation commands if you go to something else. So. And finally, well, this is not really a command line tool, but it's something that I've been having questions. There is this is an open source, snipping tool, or ksnip. It's a tool to get screenshots. And what I like is this stuff here. It's very easy to do things like that. Like, I use this for instructions along with the script of step 1, step 2, step 3, and I add these bullets and for some PowerPoint. I like it a lot. It's very simple, and this is open source, and you have it on Linux and Windows and other systems. So I like a lot this tool. So because of this. So those are my key tools, and yeah, Open for other questions. I think we have some 5-10 minutes. We can go through other questions and go ahead.
I'm just curious about one of your new build plugins. I noticed it's just the Git committer, like the Git blame output, like which new build plugin is that? Like on the right side, it gives you info on, I think it's like the Git blame output or something?
I have Git blame.
Yeah.
I have Git blame. I don't use it a lot. I'm still. I think it's just like that. I don't remember. I don't use it a lot. I have it installed, but I'm still learning it. So that's the thing. It's each of these add-ons has a learning curve. Oh, but I do have. Yeah, I see what you mean. I have the information there on the commit and the person and date of the commit. Yeah. So that's something that actually I saw VS Code had, and I was searching. Oh, there must be a plugin to do this in Vim too. So that's useful. So it's this information here. Yeah. It's also like that. It's integrated with PyLint, so it gives you warnings on things that are not correct. Which is, you can get that in VS Code too with the proper plugins. Okay. Okay. Yeah, please.
You talked about it before, but are you going to add OWL in the new book?
Yes, it's in the outline. We'll have a new chapter on OWL. That's something that's missing there. So my excuse for earlier books, it was not solid. For a long time, the JavaScript framework was changing every version. And it's kind of a curve to understand it, and really the next version or 2 versions later it changed. Right now I think it's stable, it's well documented, it was not well documented before, and when you write the book you kind of, it's a responsibility, you can't be guessing stuff, right? And if you just reverse engineering the code to explain in the book, it's kind of, it's a tricky path, but now it's well documented. So we have support, reference support on the OWL, and it's going to be on the Odoo 17 version. It's one of the main things people mention about the previous book. It's missing on the JavaScript part. Yeah. Yes?
You talked earlier on about thinking about these patterns book.
Yes.
Is this something that you could write with somebody else in the community, or somebody else?
Maybe. So maybe I'm considering that. I don't have yet a good idea of how that would look like, even how publishing would like. It's a regular book, could be something on the web. But to that point, there was a good talk on that last year from Alexandre Fayol. He did a great talk at Odoo Experience. Okay. There was a talk touching some of the topics I'm interested yesterday from someone from the Axon team on the dependencies on modules, on organizing that. That's kind of one of the topics too. So maybe, I think at the very least, I would consult a few people on the community that I know are concerned with this.
I think it's really important to have this for the community.
Okay.
This pattern things and guidelines for the modules and everything else. So when you have a structure and standard, it's easy to follow, and then you get better quality of modules as well. Yeah,
that's a good point. Well, thank you for the feedback. That validates a bit that it's an interesting topic. Thank you. Okay. Well, I think we're close to our time, so I think we can close. Well, thank you for all the questions, and I'll be around. If something pops up to your mind, just come to me. Okay, thank you.